are your Ontario Arrows. Okay. Number 1, Rob Brower. Number 2, Alex Post. Number 3, Mike Smith.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Ontario Arrows versus Canada Selects. This is going to be a fantastic exhibition game, and what you're missing right now is the names of the players being called out in the stadium, and we are going to have a listen to this, but our viewers right now will not be able to hear it.
So, Craig, since we're here, why don't we actually just give a quick rundown of the teams?
Great idea, Ricky.
We're obviously here for the Ontario Arrows versus the Canada Select team. Our Ontario Arrow team will come up right after this, but let's go through the Canada Select team. Number 1, we've got Noah Barker. Number 2, Marshall Legane. Number 3, Cole Keith. Number 4, Paul Cellini. Number 5, Connor Keys. Number 6, Dustin Dabrowski. Number 7, Lucas Ramble. Number 8, Luke Campbell. Number 9, Andrew Ferguson. Number 10, Robbie Povey. Number 11, Kay Noah Lloyd. Number 12, Giuseppe Dutoit. Number 13, Doug Fraser. Number 14, Cole Davis. Number 15, Patrick Parfait.
Thank you, Ricky, and we're about to have the Canadian National Anthem.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we were just given a minute's silence there for a fallen rugby player, a young Brodie McCarthy, who passed away this week at his school in PEI. And now for the Canadian Anthem.
Team, this is an exhibition game coming to you from York Lions Stadium. I am Craig Warnock, your commentator, with my colleague
Ricky Wright, and I introduced you before the game. Let's just quickly go through our Ontario Arrows team. At number 1, we've got Rob Brower. Number 2, Alex Post. Number 3, Mike Smith. Number 4, our captain, Mike Shepherd. Number 5, Josh Van Horn. Number 6, Marcelo Wainwright. Number 7, Peter Milazzo. Number 8, Colby Francis. Number 9, Alex Glixton. Number 10, Will Kelly. Number 11, Aaron McClelland. Number 12, Jamie Leveridge. Number 13, John West. Number 14, John Sheridan. And number 15, Sean Windsor.
Good timing, Ricky. The ball has just been kicked off, as you can see, folks. And Ricky, I think we're in for a very entertaining game tonight. There's a lot on the line tonight, folks.
I'm very excited about this game. I think it's a game where both sides have got a lot to play for. You've got the Canadian team who've got a lot to prove to themselves.
Right.
But you've also got a lot of these Ontario Arrows guys looking for a spot.
They're certainly vying for position. That's right, Ricky.
So, as you can see, we've got the Arrows are playing left to right against Canada in their traditional red jerseys.
And folks, right out the gate, there's no cobwebs on these boys. They're getting stuck in right away.
Oh,
you
nice
can see a fantastic little flash from the hooker. He's off.
Alex Post, who didn't play in the game last couple of weeks ago against the Boston Mystics.
That's right, Ricky. We were here only but 2 weeks ago, was it?
Less than 2 weeks ago.
Not in the stadium, just across the road, I believe.
Yeah, it's nice that we get to run out on proper grass and not that artificial turf across at the other stadium. And also the field markings are vastly improved. It should make for a much better and clearer understanding of the game.
That's it.
Not having to guess whether you're playing inside the green, the yellow, the red, the blue, the pink, the purple, whatever lines they were.
Our referee today, Mo Chaudhry, Ricky, has just called the first penalty of the game, just in the middle of the half of the pitch, to the Canadian Selects.
Robbie Povey looking like he's going to kick for touch. And not a very convincing kick. He's only got himself, 10, 15 yards there? 15 yards?
He certainly found the geography that he needed. We have a beautiful sunny day here in Toronto, 14 degrees, but there is quite a crisp, cool breeze. Not like that breeze that was blowing 2 weeks ago in the other stadium, though, Ricky, was there?
That breeze swirled around, played havoc with the kicking. Oh, that was a nice ball.
A fantastic miss move there in the wing. Unfortunately, the ball has gone to ground. A turnover to the Arrows in their own side, in their own 22. That's a great recovery from the Arrows, and again, a little knock on there.
Bit of.
Well, Chaudhry's seen that. So, folks, as I was saying, it is a bit of a chilly night, but we also find ourselves, Ricky, with a long weekend.
A beautiful
the first night of our long weekend.
What a better way to start a long weekend than with a game of rugby.
And both you and I, Ricky, coming up here, we were on the phone. We had some concerns that people would be escaping for the weekend and the numbers wouldn't be right. But in fact, there's quite a large crowd this evening, and people are still flooding in. Yeah. So it's good to see. Well supported.
Absolutely. And again, as we said earlier, this is still part of the exhibition season for the Ontario Arrows, as they still debate whether or not they're going to enter a team into the MLR next year. I think so far so good. The crowds have been good. The games have been good. Perhaps not as competitive in the last game as our Ontario Arrows gave a bit of a shellacking to
good term,
Mystics.
Ricky. That was my recollection as well. The Boston boys were good sports, but they certainly walked off that pitch with their heads hung low.
Yeah, very, very low. But I think this game should be much more even.
Certainly even. I would say amicable, but they're all vying for position here, so we're in for a bit of a spectacle, I'd suggest, folks.
Looks like we're having a few little issues there in the front row. Mo Chaudhry's called for another scrum.
So the Ontario Arrows scrum half that's putting in right now is the young 20-year-old over from Saracens. Is that correct, Ricky?
Yep, Saracens, part of the Saracens Academy. We spoke to him after the game last week, or a couple of weeks ago, and
that's a big push from the Selects.
Well, let's just take our minds on a trip back to 2 weeks ago, when that was exactly what Ontario were doing to the Boston Mystics, as they were pushing them all over the park.
I recall that well, Ricky.
Now they seem to be getting a taste of their own medicine.
They bulldozed them around that park with ease last week. It doesn't look to be the same scenario this week, Ricky.
They certainly have their plans changed somewhat, so they got their work cut out for them.
So there'll be a line out just outside the 22 of the Arrows to the Canadian Selects.
The referee just making sure that he's got a nice channel down the middle there.
Nice straight put in from the Selects.
Ooh, didn't come down very cleanly there. Nice tackle.
A very clean ball again. Papafre offloads.
Papafre, a regular in the Canada squad, but not at number 15, I don't believe.
I believe you're right, Ricky. I think he tend to play centre or winger. Is that correct?
That's my recollection. Oh, nice tackle in there from our captain, Mike Shepherd.
We're into about our third phase now.
Keeping the pressure on. Ontario have got to be careful. They're leaving a little bit of a gap in the middle there as they're getting drawn into some of these rucks.
The game has started not too frantically. The boys have seemed to collectively, both sides have settled quite well.
Yep.
There is an infringement again inside the 22, quickly taken.
Looked like an offside there from Ontario.
I don't think they were quite back 10. Ricky, what do you think?
It looks like the referee's got
He's going to pull it back.
He's playing advantage. No, he's actually pulled it back, so I think you're right there. Not 10. Be interesting to see what the Canadian team do, having dominated that last scrum. It looks like they're going for another scrum.
There's a few men cleaning their boots off there, Ricky. I think you're right. Big Rob Brower stepped up to the mark. And the Arrows captain is having a bit of a talk to the referee over that last call.
So in our Canada Selects team, it's primarily the guys from Eastern Canada. And I guess that makes sense, given that the return fixture is over in BC in a couple of weeks' time.
That's my understanding, Ricky. So essentially, there's two phases in these exhibition games, and the East Coast is the Canadian Select side is predominantly populated by people in the eastern part of Canada, if you want to call it that. You will not find, or you certainly won't see any Canadian members from the BC end. Until when is that game?
If memory serves correctly, I think it's a week on Saturday, so a week tomorrow. Right. So actually, not a couple of weeks. It's actually next weekend, 26th. Yeah, that scrum is definitely looking under a lot more pressure than it was against Boston last week. Holding their ground though for now.
They'll be keen to the Arrows will be keen to.
Oh, Marshall again's doing
put a stop to this. The Canadian side seems very calm and collect.
Ball.
They're just merely feet away from that try line, the Selects. And I
is that over?
believe they're just. Was that the scrum half?
I think the referee's taking a look at that now.
No, they're still in play.
They've lost it.
It's been a turnover.
Yeah, the Ontario Arrows have recovered that ball.
They've spilled it.
Alex Glickstein there's directing his troops to keep himself a nice safe platform.
Ricky, they'll be keen to get out to Will Kelly. That's right. They'll be keen to get it out to Will Kelly and clear this.
Getting himself a little bit of protection there, but they can't wait too long in there because it looks like they're going to take another stab at setting up that platform.
They want to be certain of it. Make that a clean kick and get that geography by the looks of it.
The in-goal area there looks very tiny.
It's very slender. Ricky, I would say that's about. It looks equivalent to the 5-meter line to me.
It's very. It's not very deep at all.
And that has been nicely cleared by Alex Glickstein. That will relieve some pressure off the Arrows.
Yeah, they will be thankful to come away from that particular encounter with no points against them.
A line out right on the 22 line in the Arrows end. Quickly and cleanly taken by the Selects, Ricky.
Yeah. Wasn't. Oh, no. Apparently, what's going on here?
Not straight, no. Or some form of infringement with the line.
It looked like it was not straight as it hit Connor Keys right in the gut. That's something that Marshall again will be very disappointed about. He'll be wanting to rectify that with the upcoming lineouts.
Moshadri, the referee, has just had a quick word with the front row of the Arrows. They seem to be quite eager going into these scrums. I think they need to settle a bit more. It's probably because the play is in their end, in their 22, but again, they seem to be quite keen. It's a little too eager.
But out of the starting pack from last week's game, there's 5 Ontario Arrows in there, and they were fairly dominant. And you got Mike Smith also in there coming.
Ricky, I'm sorry for interrupting you, but that is a mighty, mighty big drive. And the Canadian Selects have clearly turned that over. It's a quick ball. Again, not back 10. I'm certain that Moshadri will be calling this up. But he's let the play continue from an advantage standpoint. Huh.
Oh. Holding onto the ball, not releasing.
Not releasing, Ricky. It's been very, very quickly back and forth, well contested from both sides.
So far, Ontario Arrows have been under a little bit of pressure. Will Kelly just clearing his lines there. But they'll be happy to get out of their 22. Let's see how this next line out goes. Alex Post throwing into the back. It's a crash ball there from the centre. Jamie Leverage.
And there we are coming into the 4th phase.
The
Arrows ball.
The Arrows just
determined to get out of their end.
Yeah, driving it up the park there. Nice little drive there from Colby Francis, number 8. Oh, little show and go. Oh, I thought that was a good little flick pass there, but seemed he was flapping at the ball.
Folks, we've had a little bit of a technical difficulty with the clock, but we're presently 15 minutes into the first half.
Fans, the Arrows would like to thank some more of our sponsors. Deneen Coffee, 360-degree Solutions, Blackshear Capital, and Edelhart Menswear.
Rob Brower getting a bit of a talking to there by Moshadri.
A bit of a tongue lashing, Ricky, a bit of a tongue lashing.
It does look like the Ontario front row has slightly less meat on their bones than the Canadian front row. Makes a big difference.
From an experience standpoint, they're both very equally weighted. Would you suggest? Would you say that's correct? Canada and the Ontario side.
Well, looking at the front row, at least, I would suggest that there's probably a few more pies in the Canadian front row.
A few more pies.
Yeah. Moshadri's no longer talking to the front row. He's just speaking with his whistle.
Well, it's an impressive kick from Ferguson. They'll be looking for a very clean line out, quick ball here. Just very close to the goal line of the Ontario Arrows.
Marshall again here with a throw in about 10 metres out. That's a much better line out there.
Very straight.
Marshall.
Now, Ricky and sorry, folks, you will hear a fair amount of wind. It is quite windy and coming across the pitch. I can assure you it's not Ricky and I blowing into the mic. Again, turned over Ricky.
That will not be pleasing to the Canadian select team. There's lots of unforced errors that they'll definitely need to improve upon. And obviously this is a big test for the Canadian select team there as they look towards the World Cup next year in Japan, and there's still an inkling of a hope that they could make it in, but they have a lot of work to do, and I think games like this are a good thing for the Canadian select team. They need some good quality games to prepare them for the games that they need to.
Yeah, I think you're right. I would also suggest that not just quality games like this, but remember a lot of the players from the Arrows are vying for those positions, so there's a great deal of competition and a lot of pressure on the selects that you see here tonight.
For sure. And actually, there's a couple of the guys who started in the game against Boston 2 weeks ago who are actually playing for the Canadian select team tonight. You've got one of the second rows there, Paul Cellini, the scrum half, Andrew Ferguson, and Kainoa Lloyd, who I believe bagged himself a hat-trick against Boston, if I'm not mistaken. Was it 4?
It was actually 4.
Yeah. So we've yet to see him actually ball in hand getting away, but once again it looks like the Canadian select team have been penalised by the referee, and that's a nice little kick. Has it gone to touch?
It has.
It has indeed. That's a good clearing of the lines. Got himself from deep inside his 22, almost to the halfway line there.
Now, Ricky, there's a number of possible substitutes out there tonight. Do you see this being an exhibition game? I'm certain that they would get on tonight. What's your thoughts on that?
I would certainly like to think that Canada would use the substitutes that they've got on the bench, but I guess it's going to depend really how the game goes. It's also, if it's a tight game, they want to save face. They don't want to. They would not want to lose to what, by all intents and purposes, is essentially a provincial side. That would be a bit of an embarrassment, I would imagine.
Right. And here they come again. The selects are right back at them, right back at the Arrows. They don't seem threatened, but they're certainly the possession has been very much one-sided, and it has been down in the one end, continuously down in the Arrows end. They just seem they can't pull themselves out of their own end. And
that can be very difficult and very tiring on a body when you're constantly defending. It will be interesting to see how that plays its toll on the players towards the end of the game.
They'll be looking to get out of this 22 now, as they've done so.
Again, another nice clearance there from scrum half Alex Glixton.
So we had the opportunity to talk to young Alex after the Mystics game, Ricky, you and I. 20 years of age, over from London, England.
That is correct.
Currently in the academy squad of Saracens, and I believe Mark McCall, the manager of Saracens, has recently asked him back.
Yeah, that's it's a kiss and a curse. I mean, it's great that Alex is playing so well for Ontario, but at the same time, that also means he's a much more valuable player, and Saracens would love to have him back in their academy side very, very soon.
So we're right in the middle of the pitch, folks, just outside the Arrows 22. Selects have possession. And again, they're taking it in probably about third phase, I'd say. That's a great clearance. More pressure for the Arrows. They seem to be on a bit of a back foot, Ricky.
They do seem to be on the back foot, but their defence is staying pretty strong.
It is strong. A little chip
Kano
kick there.
Kano
They've
chasing
taken
his own
possession.
kick.
Let's see what they can do with this and see if they can get out of here. That would be a good option. Well, the referee has called stoppage to the play. The linesman has seen some form of infringement, and we're going to find out, folks, what this is.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, that's probably Mike Shepard's. I think that's Mike Shepard there. He seemed to have a bit of a swinging arm. And as that ball went through, I didn't see which player he threw to the ground, but when he was chasing that ball,
Was it an off-the-ball incident that you...
It was in pursuit of the ball incident, I would say.
Right.
Yeah, it looks like our referee's gone over and having a word there with Mike Shepard. Oh, he went to his pocket there. Yellow card for Mike Shepard.
Was indeed a bit of an off-the-ball incident after all, Ricky.
Yeah, the Mike takes.
That could be costly for them with the amount of pressure that they have on them currently, Ricky. The captain, Mike Shepard, is a tour de force. Really rallies the pack. We'll see how they fare now.
He's taking his time getting off the field.
He sure is. So they're going for the corner anyway, the selects. And obviously they're going to see how they capitalize with this line out. And they've taken it well. They've cleaned that ball from the line out. There seems to be a great deal of composure with the selects. Have you noticed?
Yep.
I'm not saying it doesn't come from the arrows, but just the dominance right now is potentially because of that composure.
The ball seems to be down. He's taking a look. It looks like he's called the ball held up over the line. So he's going to bring that back for a 5-meter scrum.
Now, folks, both Ricky and myself are having a look out the window here, not just at what you're seeing there. The sunlight has changed, obviously, so it's quite shadowy. So we do have a bit of a better view sometimes by looking out the window. We'll try to keep you best informed as possible.
We're also hoping to get the referee's mic patched into our audio so you can hear some of the stuff that he's saying as well.
So Big Rob Brower seems to be taking the role of the captaincy. Well, Mike Shepard has stepped off for that infringement. And Rob Brower is no stranger to that role. Also a Canadian cap player.
So I wonder how they're rearranging their pack. I still see, do I see a full back line there? No, it looks like they must have brought in the winger there. I wasn't paying attention.
Ferguson takes the ball, Ricky, for a crash ball. The inside center. They're very close to the line now, being a man down.
Obviously difficult to defend with the one extra player.
And I do believe that's a try. Yes, it is, Ricky. A try to the Canadian selects. First one of the evening.
And ironically, if I'm not mistaken, that was number 4, Paul Cellini, one of Ontario Arrow's very own.
Now, is that not an oxymoron?
I'm sure he's going to hear about that in the locker room next week.
Brilliant. So Robbie Povey takes the usual role of kicking between the sticks as he sets up. We'll let you folks know that he's a somewhat of a regular on the Canadian side. And he's made a clean strike at that and put it through, bringing us to 7-0. Canadian selects, Ontario Arrows.
So even though our Ontario Arrows are, are a team,
We're getting a bit of a replay now here, Ricky. And as you can see, it was obviously a clear dive for the line.
Yeah.
From Big Paul. And we're right back into it, and this is the first time the Arrows have been down in the Canadian Selects end. Ricky, they're just outside the 22 on the far side.
Actually, they might want to stay down that end. There's a lot more sunlight down there.
Certainly be warmer. Bit of a chill tonight, folks, in the air. Slight breeze. Not quite like the breeze or the wind we had 2 weeks ago. That's well taken.
By Aaron McClelland. He's been taken into touch. So that will be a line out to the Canada Select team on their own 10-meter line. Ten meters into the Canadian half.
Again, Marshall Lagan, the hooker for the Canada Selects, is having a word with the touch judge, and that didn't seem quite straight to me from what we can see with the viewers, Ricky. But
the flags have stayed down.
The flags have stayed down, but there seems to be an issue with the lineouts, and Marshall keeps bringing that up to the touch judge. We'll see how this plays out for the remainder of this half.
Oh, he kept the ball outside the 22, so he can't kick straight in. Nice little chip there. Oh, nice little chip there from the fullback.
Ferguson's out. Yeah.
And that ball cleanly taken out there. Sean Windsor getting a good pat on the back there from Alex Glickston. He was very happy with that takeout. Alex Post throwing in 5 meters inside his own half.
Here we are, line out ball to the Arrows, inside center, crash ball, right in the middle of the pitch.
Nowhere to go.
And again, now they're kicking for some geography, some real estate, Ricky, but that's very well taken by Pat Parfrey. He's got that well covered. And yet again puts another wee up and under.
A little bit of tennis going on.
A bit of tennis, ping-pong.
Some nicely placed kicks.
I don't know if this is going to be much of a test, but it certainly puts them on the back foot slightly.
Yeah, that's not a great clearance there from Andrew Ferguson. And the crowd are disappointed that the spectator there in the crowd didn't quite catch the ball cleanly.
Hey, but he didn't still quite spill his beer either. That's well taken by there. It's very quickly, just outside the 22, fumbled that ball slightly. They are right on the 22 of the Selects. A quick ball again from Alex to our substitute with the Arrows. Clint. Well cleaned. Good possession. A little misplay.
First time into the Canadian Select 22 for the Ontario Arrows. They're trying to set up a platform. Did well to hang on to that ball. They're going to keep driving this down the field.
It looks as though they're trying to set up for a bit of a set piece here, but that's not going to help them.
Ball in hand, boys. Ball in hand.
And it looks like we're going out. For a line out in the far side. Canadian Selects put in. It's a tight enough little game so far, Ricky. I know a lot of the possession and a lot of the gameplay has been down in the Arrows' end, but it certainly has been a bit of back and forth.
It certainly has, and obviously Ontario Arrows playing with one man down for about another 2.5 minutes.
He'll be keen to get back on.
And hopefully well rested, because I mean he was doing a lot of that again. Wasn't a very straight line out, and Mo Chaudhry's called that as well. So this is certainly an area that the Canadian Select team are going to have to work on.
I think you're right, Ricky. I think Marshall's getting quite frustrated with either the touch judge or the process, or either that or himself.
Well, the touch judge is not the one throwing the ball in, so I think he's only got himself to blame at this point.
I think you're right.
And whilst there is a little bit of a breeze,
oh that's unfortunate. The arrows.
The referee said that they went back.
It did seem to go between his legs.
Oh.
It didn't help their cause, though. They're now again a bit on the back foot, even though they're offensively offensively positioned. That's good defense from the Canadian Selects.
Pick and go from around the side of the scrum there. Oh. Little chip through.
Well covered by Parfrey again.
Looks like he's trying to make himself a quick escape from his own half. Lucas Rumble there, Canadian Select captain.
There's a little up and under from Ferguson.
Oh.
Well taken indeed by Aaron, the winger, yes.
Up against his Ontario Arrows teammate, Kainoa Lloyd.
Now, Ricky, that's got to be very difficult when you are going against your own teammates and playing, but there's nothing forgiven about these tackles. Obviously, because they're vying for positions.
Yep. Well, we're 5 minutes from the end of the first half. 30 seconds before our, or 20 seconds before our captain Mike Shepherd resumes the pitch. The referee's actually calling him on right now. So Ontario Arrows back at full strength.
Indeed, but they find themselves back in their own end. On their very own 22, line out Canadian Selects.
Let's see if we can get a straight throw here from Marshall again, and I would say that was not a good.
Oh, it was a miscall, Ricky, a miscommunication.
The Canadian having to do a bit of defending themselves now. There's some nice ball coming off the back of those rucks and mauls from Alex Clixton.
That's a well-placed kick.
What's Parfrey?
Parfrey, the technician, covers it well. Picks his spot.
He's not found touch.
Does not clear that ball. They regain possession, the Arrows.
Yeah, John Sheridan did well to keep that ball in.
And again they go. He hit him quite hard there, big Rob Brower. And a little bit of off the ball argy-bargy you can see as well, Ricky.
Nice little
frustrations are just starting to settle in.
Nice little cheeky run around the pick and go from the back of the ruck there from Alex Clixton. And another chip over for Rob
Parfrey covers.
Let's see if he can
and
find
returns.
touch. Unfortunately, he's kicked that one straight into touch, so that will be a line out back where he kicked it from. He won't be happy with that.
Not at all. They do seem to be very, very keen to defend that deficit, even though it's only 7-0. I would have kept that ball in hand. Would you not have thought? Rather than turn the possession over. I don't think he was obviously not trying to kick it out, but.
Well, he's not had much in the way of success with those kicks, so for sure running the ball, he got plenty of support not too far away from him, so it would certainly have been an option. Oh, that's not a very good line out from the Ontario Arrows. Spilled at the back there and recovered by Canada.
Again, they contest in the middle of the pitch, Ricky. Very deep line, very quick hands.
Up very quickly. He's got to be careful. He's already been in the bin for 10 minutes. And with a bit of a high tackle there, I think he was lucky to get away with that.
Well, Masaudry, the referee, has indeed called that up. I'm not quite sure what that infringement was for, but Let's put the selects back on the back foot, and they're clearly the arrows are going for the corner, which they find convincingly. That was quite a good kick into the wind there, Ricky.
I don't know whether that is actually correct. It looks like it was actually touch and go. So
he's bringing it back. You're right.
Bringing it all the way back. I didn't see whether that was Kelly or Glixton who kicked that, but
Now from here, yes, indeed, Ricky. From here, folks, it was hard to see if that ball made touch on the far side. Obviously, it didn't. But Mashradri, the referee, has brought it back to where the original infringement took place, and we're now scrum down to the Canadian selects put in.
let's see if the Ontario Arrows have figured out how they're going to defend this scrum.
It has gone to ground, so they'll reset.
Chaudhry looking like he's having a word with the the Ontario front row. Unfortunately, it looks like we haven't got the referee's feed into the booth here, so we're guessing just as much as you are as to what conversations are being had. But again, another nice strong scrum there from Canada, but looks like Ontario managed to hold their own.
Oh, that's a great little up and under there, Ricky. You've taken that very cleanly. Obviously a little practice set piece. Good communication from the selects, and they're away.
It was well taken by Cole Davis, but Sean Windsor was up on him very quickly and kept good and tight on that. There's certainly no love lost in those centres.
No. John West did a good job putting the select
Fraser
on his back there.
on his behind. The Canadian select team losing 10, 15 metres there.
Here they come now. They want to control this. There is a penalty about to happen, but the referee is playing advantage here. That's a strong run, a very strong run from Cole Davies. Setting them up for another phase.
Back to where they were, what, a minute and a half ago? So we are at the end of the first half. I'm sure the next breakdown will be a whistle from our referee. So the Canadian select team trying to keep the ball alive. And the referee has called for a penalty, which looks like he's going to let it play, and a yellow card for the for the reserve prop there, Clint Lemkus. Not what Ontario would want at this stage of the game.
No. Now I know we're in the clock has run out.
Not sure whether we.
But this will potentially prove advantageous to the Canadian selects. We'll see what the referee is going to do here. There's no point giving a yellow card at this stage in the first half.
Yeah, Mike Shepherd already had a yellow card himself, is having a word with the referee, but as captain of the team.
And I would suggest, Ricky, that he's probably had a word based on it being the 40-minute mark. So they could be punished here, the Arrows.
So perhaps the referee's not seen the clock. He's looking at his watch, but he's still playing. And we have a line out once again for Ontario. They want to make sure this is clean, and I would imagine they want to clear their lines and get that ball into touch.
Yeah. Yes, Ricky, after this, the next stoppage will indeed be the half. Oh.
Well, the ball's gone out. I'm not sure it was intended to go out that way, but the referee is still not calling an end to the proceedings.
You're right, Ricky, you're right. Now that did look to be like a well-rehearsed set piece that just obviously went quite wrong.
That's what we would call a bogsy ball where I come from.
A bogsy ball. Do elaborate.
That's one for another day. Meat down the channel.
So right on the 22, folks, of the Arrows, and that's a clean break for the Selects. They are looking threatening right now. The Arrows will be frantic to defend this before they go into the second half or before they end this half. Ferguson delivers outright. The centres, it's been well covered by the Arrows.
Kainoa in there trying to help his teammates, his new teammates, recover the ball.
A bit of a drive on here now. The Arrows need to do their best to defend this before they go into the second half and try to keep that deficit as low as possible. But it looks as though there's been a drive over. The referee, Moshodri, will go for a look. He has called it up. It looks as though it's been held up, Ricky.
I'm sure that Ontario will be very happy with that, but don't tell me he's still going to keep playing.
He certainly is.
My goodness. Does somebody need to go out and give him a new watch? We are well into... do we have stoppage time at the end of the first half?
Oh, no, it's certainly 40 minutes, and I don't know if he's really making a point about that last infringement, that yellow card, or not, but we're into, what, 3 or 4 plays past that infringement, so it'll be a real test right now for the Arrows and see how they fare against this scrum.
Certainly having to weather a lot of storm here.
And you're right, Ricky, we're both right on this one. Our captain, Mike Shepherd, is going over to have a word. He's obviously very concerned. I'm certain that the Arrows right now would like to be going to their changing rooms and regroup, especially at this low deficit. This would be a real punishing move if the Selects were to score at this point in the game.
Yeah. And I'm still baffled by the length of the time that this referee is adding on at the end of this first half. I could understand it if we were in the second half and this was the end of the game and it was tight.
I completely agree, Ricky.
But at this stage of the game, I think this is a little bit unnecessary.
Especially it being an exhibition. Let's see how this... They certainly being pushed. A quick take from Ferguson inside. That's well defended by the Arrows. And again, now I'm afraid to say that looks as though they are over.
Oh no, he's called it up again. Now will he reach for his whistle?
And there is certainly a bit of urge, a lot of frustration in here, folks. And I understand why clearly.
When you think the half should have been over 5 minutes ago, and yet the referee's still playing, and you are soaking up so much pressure, this is bound to boil over.
You can see Mike Shepherd shaking his head at this point, and he has now indeed
he's called a penalty
try. Well, my oh my.
So no need to kick the conversion for a penalty try, or have they changed the rules again? I thought a penalty try was now an automatic 7 points.
Well, by the looks of it, that's not the case, Ricky. Robbie Povey is indeed setting up for the conversion, but I can assure you that Mike Shepherd and his squad will not be happy about that call 5 minutes after stoppage time.
And now, finally, the referee blows his whistle. Mike Shepherd is having a conversation with the referee that we can only imagine what that conversation's about. I'm sure it's
certainly disappointing, and undoubtedly they should there be a few words had in the change room about keeping your composure, because that is indeed a bit upsetting. Going in to the change rooms after the first half, it is 14 the Canada Selects against the Ontario Arrows at 0. All right, folks, we'll be right back after the break.
Welcome back for the second half. The Canadian Select team starting off with a 14-point advantage. We were just reflecting on that that first half and the referee there. So we're thinking what might have happened is the referee has stopped his watch a couple of times that we haven't caught up here in the booth. And as a result, he still had time on his clock at the end of that half.
Certainly, Ricky, we'll give Mo Chaudhry the benefit of the doubt there, but it did appear to be a bit one-sided and put the Arrows in a bit of an unfortunate circumstance by having the Select score that 7 points before they hit the change rooms, putting us to 14 points. For Canada, being a Canadian, Ricky, the two of us, it's very hard to pick a side. Although that's not our job. All right, folks, we're right back into it.
A little cheeky short kick
a
there.
A little grubber to get us started.
Would certainly have liked to have been a fly on the wall in that changing room. I can't imagine Mike Shepherd would have had too many quiet words said. I'm sure Ontario coming back out all fired up. Let's see what happens here.
Now that was a tremendous kick from Parfray, but well covered by our wing, Sean.
Not a great return,
John Sheridan, but it did.
But matched by the catch. That looked like a Carby catch.
A Carby catch. Where are you from, Ricky?
I am a Yorkshireman, born and dragged up.
You don't say. Now, they do look as though they're coming at them a little bit stronger right out the gate in this second half, Ricky. Oh, a bit more momentum. That's well covered by the Canadian Selects, and they're having a go now, although it has been turned over, yes?
It looked like there was a bit of a knock on there as the Canadian Select team tried to force through the Ontario defence. So this will be a scrum down. Ontario ball.
Inside the Arrows 22.
Let's see how they've addressed this scrummaging issue that they seem to be struggling a little bit in the first half.
The domination in the game against the Mystics, the Boston Mystics 2 weeks ago that the Arrows had against the Mystics was significant. It seemed the tables have kind of turned here today. It seemed not quite as dominant as what was in that game 2 weeks ago, Ricky, but the Canadian side here seems to be very strong. Again, that's taking that against the head. You know, you can see how the tables have turned there.
Looks like.
And that is a penalty indeed to the Selects. Ferguson's calming things down, the scrum half.
Mike Shepherd
and they will go for the post.
They're going to go for another scrum.
Now, I was wrong there, Ricky. I thought that the referee was pointing to the posts. Would you, at this early stage in the game, especially coming right out of the into the second half, not have gone for points there?
It depends. Depends what kind of message you're trying to set. You've just taken a ball against the head, and now you have an opportunity to really put the thumb screws to the Ontario team, exert that dominance, and really set the tone and set the pace for this second half. I think that's probably not a bad.
I think that's
decision.
A pretty accurate observation, Ricky. Ferguson's put in. We're just outside the 5 meter line. The Arrows 5 meter line. Ferguson stutters. He offloads the ball well. The Selects have this covered. 2 in on that ball. They're really attacking well now.
Oh.
How did they turn that over?
I am not sure.
The referee calls it up.
Maybe we can see that again. So here we are. Oh.
It's straight to hands.
They couldn't have given it to him any cleaner if they'd have put a ribbon on it.
Travis Larson received a present there, I can assure you.
And Ontario have taken the subsequent penalty and kicked it into touch. Not great yardage on this, but they have the line out.
Line out the arrows. It's a good straight put in. Well taken. Oh, that's a great straight run right up the center of the pitch. Trying, obviously, to capitalize on another phase. They've taken it well again.
Apologise, ladies and gentlemen.
Mike Shepard's taking that ball on the captain. A good leading force, as has the young scrum half now.
Speaking of Mike's.
Young Alex taking this ball on. They seem to, they have had a good chat in the change room. Their aggression's coming out. It appears to be a good bit more. They're keeping the ball in hand, Ricky, and trying to move it forward.
Well,
There's a lot of ping pong in that first half.
There was a lot of ping pong. They're definitely keeping the ball in hand and trying to get it ran out. Now, if I'm not mistaken, they were down. They're down to 14 men, so they've started the second half still one man short, and unlike the first half where it was about 15 minutes before they actually left their own half, it looks like we could be on the verge of getting outside, but apparently not.
Clearly taken by the Slugs again, and they're on the move.
Oh,
here's an advantage now to the Arrows. And if the young Alex can get his hands to that ball, well covered again by the Selects. And now we find ourselves inside the 22 of the Canadian Selects. That is a great, here we go. A wonderful, wonderful pass out to the wing.
Yeah.
That set that movement up, Ricky.
And meanwhile, the Canadian Selects have kicked the ball out and cleared their lines. We are up to the halfway line with the ball to be thrown in by Ontario.
That certainly wasn't straight. There has not been a flag. But the referee has seen that, Ricky. The referee has seen that. We all could clearly see that.
I'm not sure whether that was even 5. It looked like he... I don't even know what...
Do you know, that was actually reminiscent of just off the back of that first half. At this side of the pitch in the line out where they did the same thing, except the ball went... They missed the hands and went clean out.
Exactly.
It seemed to be the same play, but clearly maybe a bit of nerves had taken place, and it was clearly not straight.
Yeah, it was clearly not straight, but at least he caught it this time. Okay, so here we are. The scrum is going to the Canadian Select team for the knock on for the not 5 or not straight, or I don't know what that was. Take your pick.
Eeny, meeny.
Miny, mo. Speaking of Mo, our referee here is going to keep a close eye on this scrum.
Ferguson put in. That's well controlled. Very well controlled. It has popped up. Ferguson is going to pass this out now. Away.
It had popped up, but Ontario seemed to be holding their own for that particular scrum, so that is promising.
A bit messy in there. Alex has cleaned that. That is very unfortunate knock on. Referee clearly playing advantage, which has not been taken. It'll be a scrum just inside the Arrows half to the Canadian Selects.
Again, this is another opportunity to see whether that scrum has settled itself down. Now, I guess our Arrows are back at full strength, which is probably what helped them in their last scrum. Clint Lemkus, I think, has returned to the field.
Dare you to say that 2 times quick.
That 2 times quick.
Well, folks, the crowds are, although you can't see them, the way this stadium is situated, they're on the same side of us, but the stands are packed, and there's a clear buzz about the grounds. It's well received, this game.
So the referee there called an infringement at the scrum, giving the quick tap and go penalty or free kick, I think it was, to the Canadian Select team, who've taken good use of that ball.
Young Alex appeared to be isolated there.
The Arrows have recovered the ball. Some good quick hands there out on the wing. I've been very impressed how young Alex has been marshalling his troops, both in defence and in attack.
I completely concur. Ricky's been somewhat of a leader for the Arrows. Parfait covers,
but again, not a very convincing kick.
Another thanks to our sponsors, the Ontario Honda Dealers, Alliance Insurance, and Waypoint Investments.
So, Ricky, it is a nice evening. This evening is 14 degrees, as we said earlier, and the temperature remains the same. People are happy. There will be a few tired legs already out there, folks.
Tired legs and tired hands.
And tired hands, by the looks of it, indeed, Ricky.
Clint Lemkus bulldozing his way through.
Oh, that's a lovely retouch. Just inside the Canadian Selects 22. Now, Ricky, I have to say, I would like to see a relatively even score by the end of this. As I said, folks, it's very hard to pick a side. We can't pick a side being Canadian. Oh, look at that. That's a tremendous ball. And just as I've said that, he goes right into the corner. Now, the referee's called this back. We're not quite certain what for, but the fans are clearly not happy about it.
I believe it looked like there was a little bit of a forward pass. I don't know whether he got a bit of a heads up from his linesman there. Let's see.
Here's the replay,
that
folks.
One looked okay. That one perhaps not so much. So the forward pass there from Colby Francis to...
Well, if we can see the replay, I'm not quite certain if the linesman's flag went up or not there. And obviously, folks, from our view and your view, it may very well have been lateral, but the referees called it back for forward pass.
And unfortunately, we still don't have the referee's mic, so we don't know what he said down there, but... maybe we'll get that.
That's well cleaned up by the Canadian Selects. Inside their 22. Well checked away. And kicked a touch.
That's a much better clearance there from the Canadian Select team. Taking the play down. I guess not as far as it appeared from our vantage point.
Not as far indeed, Ricky, but it has relieved some pressure for them. So there's been a substitution, as we thought there would be. Give players a run this evening in this exhibition game. Andrew Ferguson has gone off for the Canadian Selects, and our Robbie Povey has also left the pitch. Again, the Arrows attack. Just on the inside of the Canadian Selects. That's a great little run, but well covered. Well covered.
Matt Heaton, who's just come onto the field, making his presence known right away with a tackle.
He wants to stay in, and touch judge's flag has gone up. Will leave us with a line out just outside the Canadian Selects 22.
Well, I don't know about you crackers, but I'm disappointed I've not seen any of the speedster Kainoa.
We haven't seen any of that kind of flash in the pan like we've seen in the last game, Ricky, to be honest. It has been a lot of head-butting and a lot of, what do you want to call it? It's been well contested, but there has been no flair from certainly not in the first half.
It's been very steady, I think, is the word we're
Steady.
looking
We'll buy that. We'll buy that, Ricky.
for. So we have the trainers on the field right now taking a look at. I'm not quite sure who they're taking a look at. Is that young Alex?
It is. It is.
Let's hope he stays fit.
Now, Marshall Lagan, the hooker, as you can see, folks, right now, ready to throw this ball in the line. It is a big unit.
Yep.
He has had some difficulty
That's
tonight,
a much better throw,
but
though.
it seems to have settled. There may have been some discussion inside the tunnel as to how to figure that out. That's a lovely wee box kick from who is now.
And how do you think that discussion went? Throw it straight?
Throw it straight, Ricky. Throw it straight.
That ball has been kicked straight into touch, so the line out will come back to where the ball was kicked from. Unfortunately, that's not a good situation to be in, as Ontario find themselves still within their own half, but now having given the ball over to the select team. That line out starting to err on the side of not straight again.
So, Ricky, as I was discussing earlier, in terms of flair, do you think that they're...
Ontario penalised for going over
I'll
the
pause
top.
there.
There's nobody in at scrum half, so Marshall
No,
again.
a bit static. They do need to get that ball out the back of those breakdowns a wee bit quicker. Again, good supported forward play by the Canadian Selects. Allows them to take their time, keep that composure in the backs, start to flash that ball, and then obviously concentrate on some of these set pieces, although they haven't executed on anything.
They haven't, but I think that's been a result of the Arrows being up very quickly.
Again.
And very strong in defence, so a testament to the Arrows. Oops.
Again, to your point, as you can see in that replay, how quickly they're trying to come up. The Arrows, number 10, very quickly coming up.
Again, I mean, one of the other things we talked about earlier, why he didn't kick for the posts, I think, as an exhibition game, there are moves they want to run.
I think you're right.
This is not about the points at the end of the day. I mean, ultimately, that's what people will remember, but it's definitely about the opportunity to play some contested rugby.
Here we are now, folks, just in the inside of the Arrows 22.
Alex digging it out from the back of that
He's
run.
taking a nice little box kick there, and he has found touch. I wonder if they're going to flash this quite quickly, the Selects, but it seems no.
I know that was thinking about it, but ultimately decided that that was not the best option.
Now, from our last game, it looks like Kainoa has had a haircut.
It's not making him run any quicker. And that ball again, not straight, and this time the
Arrows have capitalised on that. There's a little slight tap forward by the looks of it.
It looked like an outside arm as well. Is that the outside arm?
Yeah, we're about to find out now here in this replay.
Yep, that was an outside arm.
It was an outside arm. Oh, a little head collision there, but I think here the referee plays advantage, but I don't understand why he indicated that that was a forward pass.
I think it was more of a knock on.
I think you're right.
A couple of players receiving a little bit of attention.
Fans, don't forget to join us for the post-game event at Shopsies, right here on your campus.
Who's that leaving the field there? Number 6, Marcelo.
maybe a couple of stitches in that, but they'll check him obviously and put him through that concussion protocol.
Yeah, we got our new blindside flanker here. Cam Sanderson, who was on the bench against Boston a couple of weeks ago.
And Jordan Sandover Best puts in for the Canadian Selects, replacing Andrew Ferguson. And they have...
Oh, it's kicking off.
A little bit of argy-bargy there.
I don't know, it looked a bit more like handbags. Bit of swinging, but nobody dancing.
Your purse is bigger than mine. Kick for touch. Trying to find that corner. And again, folks, this line, you'll likely see a bit of a set piece here. A bit of a strategy from both sides today, Ricky.
That's assuming that Marshall can get the ball in straight without being penalised. And it looks like it's the end of Marshall's night. So coming on in his place is Stephen Ng. Let's see if his throwing's any straighter. Certainly looks it, but communication seems to be breaking down, and Ontario have come away from that line out with the ball.
Now, as I was mentioning earlier, Ricky, a bit of flash. It is an exhibition game. I know there's a lot on the line, but I suspect you might see something in the last 20 minutes. People trying to make an impression, if there is indeed any selectors out there. However, there is a result at stake regardless.
There is a result at stake for sure. But it's not been a great game so far. It's lacking. I know we've talked about the flair.
You're right. I paused about that earlier, and I wanted to ask you about that because is it because they're both well contested? They're both evenly weighted, the two sides. Is there too much on the line? Is it just basic, simple hands that have gone to ground to disrupt that kind of set piece? What's your thoughts?
I don't know. I think you've got two teams who, like you said, are pretty evenly matched. But there are teammates playing against teammates, and I think that can also have an effect. And
yeah, my fear is always in matches like this, you're sometimes the nerves, and given what's on the line from a selection, regardless whether it's a exhibition or not, you're sometimes afraid of making mistakes.
Yep, for sure.
And I don't know if that's the case or not, but as I said, folks, it'd be nice to see a little bit more flair.
Canada Select winning their line again. That was unfortunate that Pat Parfait couldn't get on the end of that ball. Made a good burst through the line.
Now Giuseppe is rallying the troops at the back here. He's trying to get his backs back. The Canadian Select centre. Oh, that's a great crash ball. They are certainly moving now.
And they're definitely able to offload that ball in the tackle. Got to be careful there.
Listen.
Kainoa.
Wow. Oh. Just as we discussed flair, and it appears that we've received it, folks. That was a tremendous, tremendous athletic dive from Kainoa into the corner for a sensational try.
Again, we talked about the fact that he hadn't really had the ball in hand too much in this game, but he certainly managed to keep his feet in
now here
bounds.
It is. Here's the replay, Ricky. You'll see this. It just seems to almost move in slow motion, but the electricity that comes out of this man, he just bursts out the gate, takes three players on. Now, is that athletic or not?
That's pretty good. I mean, you're running down that 5 meter channel. You've not got much wiggle room, but he did what he needed to do. He had a good handoff. He had the hooker there.
He certainly did,
post.
Ricky.
And
he did that in the last game that we seen with 4 tries. He was electrifying in the last game. He's jumped over to the Canadian Select side this evening in this exhibition game, and he scored an absolute blinder into the corner with some real athletic ability. Good for him.
I'd like to see more of... Now, who have we got?
Jordan McCrory seems to be taking over the kicking role from Robbie Povey. Now we're right back, folks, right back into
that
that's a
ball's gone
huge up and under. And again, it's very, very well taken.
Kainoa is on the end of that one. Managed to get that ball back to his teammates.
It looks as though they've gone up a gear a little bit now. Just on the back of our conversation, Ricky, about flair, they have indeed gone up a gear.
Ooh,
that's tremendously taken. This is a fantastic run. He's still in the open, offloads the ball, it goes to ground. The Arrows have unfortunately intercepted it. Oh, well cleared, well covered. That was well played by the Canadian Selects.
Is he going to call a mark? Nope, he's just going to kick it. And return it down the field. That's a wonderful kick. That's a wonderful kick. It didn't look as though it came off his boot how he wanted it, but certainly got some good distance, and he eventually found touch.
And they've taken it quickly there, Ricky.
But now we're back to that game of
my feeling is
tennis.
They need to keep it in the hands here and run at them. That's a tremendous handoff. But well tackled,
quick to the
well
breakdown,
covered.
But apparently...
Big Mike Shepard's again around the park today, all over the place, being a great leader for the Arrows. But unfortunately, they're just coming up short.
There's still plenty of game left.
Let's see what they can do now. This is their opportunity now.
Although it does look, and Crackers, you can comment on this, does look like the Canadian Select team are kicking it up a little gear.
Yes.
Or maybe it's a case of the Arrows having run ragged for the last 66 minutes and now tiring a little bit more.
Potentially, Ricky. There's been a great deal of defense work from the Arrows, which, as you pointed out earlier, and I completely agree with you, can be tremendously exhausting. Having said that, the composure that the Canadian Select side has been fantastic, and it does appear that they've kicked it up another gear, another notch.
Again,
but the Arrows, here they are.
Again with a short ball
again,
that
to the front same
of the
play,
line.
Ricky.
It's the third time they've used it, and
this time they seem to have got it right.
Yep, they stayed.
There has to be a bit more eagerness, a bit more franticness from the Arrows. They're quite concerned about their set pieces.
Oh, there's some nice hands there.
We'll recover now.
Oh, pick it up, boys.
Recovered now. Referee. He's seen something again, an off the ball call, which has caused him to turn the ball over.
Travis Lawson certainly didn't seem very happy about that.
He did not. That was a bit of a silly mistake, though. Clearly, they had an advantage at that point in time. They had the Canadian Selects on the back foot, and they spoiled it by simple discipline.
Simple indiscipline.
Simple indiscipline and right is indeed right, Ricky.
So just inside the Canadian Select half, Canada have the put in at the line out.
Big Rob Brower looks to be departing the pitch. A substitution for the Arrows.
I was just about to say it looks like we've got much better line out throwing, but that one didn't seem to find the target it was supposed to.
Parfrey runs into a wall.
Looks like there's a little bit of crossing in there, but Canada Select are driving together, which
They do have the support there. You're right, Ricky.
They get in there. They get in there in numbers, and they get in there quickly, which is always helpful.
Oh, that's a great inside ball. Well communicated. Yet another phase, very clean. You know what I've just occurred to me, that the support that they have when they take the ball in, there's always another 1, 2, 3 red shirts. Now, obviously, the Arrows are doing a good job of defending, but it just means that they're capitalizing. There's a quick turnover, and they're back, putting the Arrows on the back foot continuously just because of that support.
And I think that's one of the things that the Canadian Select team will take away from this game is that last pass, that last effort. I don't know whether they're pushing it one phase too far or whether they should be taking it to ground and recycling that ball, but it seems to be they're just pushing it just beyond their reach, and they've had a lot of unfortunate turnovers, whether that's from a knock-on, whether that's from a forward pass, or whether that's from not having the support and ending up having the ball stripped from them. It's not been...
Oh, Parfrey's clearance was very lucky there. But again, it has put more pressure on the Arrows, Ricky. Back down in their own 22 after clearly having some possession there. And Parfrey hit a kick there that clearly wasn't going out, but he got a lucky bounce.
I'm sure if you ask him in the change room afterwards, he will tell you that's exactly what he intended to do.
I know his father. I've had 1 or 2 lunches with his father. A fantastic family, a wealth of rugby within the family. And as much as you think he'd say that, he's probably the type of character that would turn around and admit that it was a lucky bounce.
Not quite as lucky as the bounce that ended up in the garbage can last week.
Right, here we are, right back at them.
John Sheridan, nice
You
clearance.
might see a quick take here now. He's decided against this one, been well checked by an Arrows player.
So John Sheridan manages to clear the ball out to the 10-meter line. Canada get the throw in.
It's a better put in it.
Much better throw. Oh, but again, hands are letting them down. Giuseppe Dutoit in the centres there.
Just simple stuff.
I think he'd seen out the corner of his eye. He
I
was
think
about
you're
to
right.
get a tackle, and I think that just distracted him temporarily as he took his eye off the ball.
It's true, Ricky. Sometimes you have that play or that move in your head before you receive the ball. You're foreseeing what you want to do without concentrating on those basic things of getting the ball in your hands first.
Well, I don't necessarily think it was what he wanted to do. I think it was what was about to happen to him.
A bit of a sore midsection. As you can see, folks, Mario van der Westhuizen has replaced Alex Glickston, given some fresh legs, but more importantly, given everyone a bit of a run.
It's fairly sizable calves there for a scrum half.
I'm not much of a leg man, Ricky, but if you say so.
He had thighs to match. And we all know that's not true, Crackers. If there's a legman out there.
Okay, fair enough. My eyes do wander once or twice a week.
Fans, please feel free to meet the Arrows players and staff after the match down on the track. Just a reminder that all alcohol must remain in the stands. There is no alcohol permitted on the track.